Good morning, Atlantis. That song was for Brew.
Good morning, Shane. Thanks very much. It sounds like my kids are consistent with another blast from Chicago, and appreciate that morning wake-up call. Thank you.
No problem. Look forward to a great day.
Houston and ISS from Atlantis, physical separation.
Copy, good. Thank you very much.
Atlantis ISS, copy, physical separation.
Houston, Huntsville, Moscow, and Atlantis. Atlantis departure. Atlantis to ISS. Have a safe landing.
Thank you, ISS. Have a great remainder of your Expedition 15. We'll see you back on planet Earth.
Copy all, Atlantis. Godspeed, CJ. Thanks for everything.
Atlantis, ISS, station is in attitude control. Atlantis copies. Thanks a lot, Clay.
Atlantis now 340 feet away from the International Space Station. The newly installed solar array wings installed during this joint mission coming into view on the left side of the screen, the starboard side of the International Space Station. Atlantis continuing to move away from the International Space Station at a rate of 0.2 of a foot per second, now 395 feet away. Also coming into view on top of the station is the P6 truss, which the solar array wing was retracted on during this mission. The wing to the left was previously extended before Atlantis arrived. now retracted, preparing that element for relocation out to the port side of the station to the right in this view later this year. Retraction of that wing also allowing the new arrays on the left to rotate and track the sun as the station orbits the Earth. The shadow of the Space Shuttle Atlantis reflected, cast on the solar array wings. Atlantis now 490 feet away from the International Space Station as it has begun its fly around of the complex, moving up above the space station. After this joint mission, the International Space Station appearing symmetrical with the two sets of solar array wings to provide electricity and the power needed to operate the station and its laboratories. With the installation of the new truss and solar array wings on the starboard side to the left in this view, the International Space Station now weighs 509,000 pounds. The additional power generated by the new solar array wings was needed in the assembly sequence here to add new laboratories provided by the European Space Agency and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, starting with the European lab later this year, Columbus, that will be installed on the Harmony Node 2 module that first will be brought up to the space station in October, then Columbus in December, and then the components of the Japanese laboratory Kibo beginning their launch aboard the space shuttle next year. This view showing the solar array wings extending towards the shuttle in a clocked position, commanded by the team here in Mission Control, to be rotated during the undocking to protect the delicate solar arrays. The Falcon flight control team that monitors the solar arrays and the power on board the space station will be unlocking those gimbal assemblies to allow the arrays to move to track the sun. Also, the alpha rotary joint, solar alpha rotary joint on the truss will be unlocked, allowing the entire array to follow the sun as the International Space Station orbits the Earth. The Space Shuttle Atlantis now 600 feet away from the International Space Station and directly above it. This now a view from a camera on the outside of the International Space Station truss, looking at the Space Shuttle Atlantis, now 630 feet away from the complex. The Space Shuttle Atlantis 630 feet away from the International Space Station, now directly behind the space station. Continuing the fly around of the complex, allowing the Space Shuttle crew members to document the new configuration of the International Space Station. The Space Shuttle Atlantis currently 660 feet away from the International Space Station, continuing its fly around, moving down below the station now. The two vehicles orbiting 209 statute miles above the Atlantic Ocean, about to cross over Europe. Now 59 minutes since Atlantis undocked from the International Space Station, the two orbiting 210 statute miles above the Earth, passing over the coast of Portugal. This is Mission Control Houston with the view from a camera in the docking mechanism of the Space Shuttle Atlantis, now 1 hour and 8 minutes after Atlantis undocked from the station, continuing a fly around of the complex about
Houston, Atlantis, here to ground 2. Are you still getting KU down there?
We are getting KU, CJ, and we're watching the centerline camera video.
Okay, good news, and in just a couple of minutes we're going to give you 10 Alpha.
Okay, copy that.
the Space Shuttle Atlantis, now 640 feet in front of the International Space Station. This view from the camera in the docking mechanism on board the Space Shuttle Atlantis, looking back towards the International Space Station as the two pass into night through an orbital sunset. This now view from the Space Shuttle Atlantis, currently orbiting over the Atlantic Ocean with the International Space Station behind it. The space station actually in front of the Space Shuttle Atlantis, seen just above the orbital maneuvering system pod on the right in this view. This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to watch a view from the Space Shuttle Atlantis of the International Space Station. The crew on board Atlantis taking a break after undocking today for their mealtime and an opportunity to zoom in on the International Space Station using the shuttle cameras before getting to work with the inspection of Atlantis's heat shield.
Okay, Houston, here we are. It's Flight 812, undocking day, and Brew is setting us up to do the undocking. First thing you had to do is do the Group B power-up. And then he recovered the IMUs for us. You can see him here doing some Spec 21 actions. Now we are in the undocking timeline, making sure all the jets are deselected, and the crew is discussing, per our excellent training, what we would do if we need to reselect a jet in the event of certain DPS failures. You can see the entire crew gets into position as we power up the logics and drivers. This is about 5 minutes prior to undocking. Okay, and just to be technically correct, we did the logics first and then the drivers per the procedure. Here's Pat following with JR, and they're working the APDS steps and pushing undocking at about 220 prior. Here you can see the ISS separating for the orbiter, and I'll let Brew take over the commentary.
Okay, after the undock, we slowly backed out to approximately 400 feet, 450 feet before we started our pitch around the International Space Station. As we moved out, Danny Olivas is working the RPOP machine as well as backing up the data from the TCS, which provides our range and range rate data. He's backing that up with some good handheld laser checks. View from the overhead window, you can see the station backing away very slowly. We were moving out at about roughly 0.2 feet per second. Here's a view on the RPOP computer I mentioned before, and that just helps us monitor our corridor and our predicted corridor. As you can see, we're flying out on the bottom of that corridor and projected that angle on up. More views of a very symmetrical International Space Station now as we continue to back out on the what we call the V-bar.
Part of our requirements was to do photo documentation and a complete mapping of the station, and we did that as we backed out and then eventually used the 400 millimeter lens.
Looks like we're in a fly-around here. Looks like as we backed out, it was nighttime, but during most of the fly-around, it was daytime, and so you can see it's very bright now, and we are in a fly-around, capturing the space station from 360 degrees all the way around. You gotta love that symmetrical space station now. Here we are after about 90 degrees, the RPOP machine showing us exactly where we're at. We're shooting to be at roughly 600 feet above the International Space Station as we hit the 90-degree point on our fly-around.
So that was the last day that I'll probably see the International Space Station for quite some time. It was my home for 6 months, and pretty emotional event, and but I'm happy to come back to Earth.
As we continue to fly around the space station, as we go in every quadrant, the commander Rick Sturko and Steve Swanson are monitoring our computers up front and making sure the new data points are entered to keep us going in a 360-degree path around the space station as I kept us in position by flying with inputs on the THC and the F cockpit. Another nice view through the overhead window as we continue to track around the space station to its backside. 370 degrees, and on the bottom side of the space station coming up, and we're going to re-intercept the what we call the V-bar, about 650 foot out in front of the space station before we do our separation burn. This is a primary source of maintaining our position as we go around the space station. It's a COAS, it's nothing but a reticle, and we try to keep the space station lined up somewhere near the center of that reticle as we transition all the way around the space station. And you see, looking up right now, we're looking up at the very bottom, looking straight forward. We call this, we're on the R bar.
As we get further away, the ability to photograph the space station can get a little bit more challenging, so we have a variety of lenses on board that we use for photo documentation. You saw Jim Riley there also doing taking some radar marks as we move further on out. You can see here from the computer that this essentially was a textbook separation and fly around by Lee Archambault.
And then the night came, and we had another sunrise, and now you can see off the tail, you should be able to see station. The station was a little hard to see. It was on the other side of the tail, and here we moved the tail a little bit over to get another view of station just off the tail as we departed it.
Here you can see pretty much the entire crew checking the cabin temp controller. Number 2. Number 1 was working fine, so we switched over to number 2. There if you look real close, you can see it moving. I'm sorry, but some things are just funnier in space. We're crying up here.
While waiting for the valve to move, Danny was putting some of our tapes together so we could get them back to Earth in a little more orderly manner. And as you can see, he was pretty much a physicist by training.
After undocking, we still had a full day ahead of PDRS or ARM operations. We conduct what we call late inspection, where we take the boom out with the shuttle robotic arm, and we basically remap the leading edge of the wings and the nose cap again, very similar to what we did on flight day 2, just to make sure there was no damage while we were docked up there from MMOD. Brew used the arm to grapple the boom and pull it out of the bay today. Once we had it grappled, we put the orbiter in free drift and would begin by pulling the boom out and start the inspection.
bring it into a hover position, and then send it into an automated maneuver to begin our inspection on the starboard wing. Right now, we're just about getting that into that hover position.
One of the main things that I have to get ready for before coming to Earth is just making sure my body's in good shape. I've been up here for 6 months, so do a little bit of bicycling as well as a little arm ergometry just to make sure the heart's pumping okay. It's one of the muscles that gets a little bit weaker up here in space because it doesn't have to work as hard.
And since Sunny was so busy working, I decided to go ahead and take a break for her and have a little bit of fun with some drops of juice. You can see doing some of these simple tricks is a challenge in space, but it's a lot of fun to do. And what I'm using to move that liquid around is actually dental floss, and you can see red and yellow makes kind of a marble color. That's a lifesaver in a water ball. It looked kind of like a big eye. Nice catch by Sonny there. Okay, this is a shot. You can still see the station. The Mission Control Center in Houston called us up and said it was about 9 miles away, and then we did a burn later on to move it out a little further away overnight. More views of the inspection at the orbiter hatch on the side hatch, sir. You can see the crew has up to 4 views to maintain clearance. Sometimes the boom is out of over the nose cap or over the wings, and so we use the different camera views, plus crew members looking out the forward windows to verify that everything is safe. Here's a shot of, as you can see, I believe Danny doing just that, checking the boom as it's over the forward. We have excellent tools. This is the DUG program developed by the crew at the VR lab. To say hi to Dave Holman and his team. They're invaluable for the kind of robotics work we're doing up here, as well as EVA preparation. And you can see the station was still out there. Oh, now this was, we had an object flow out of the payload bay. It looked kind of like a spider, but we looked at it a little more closely and took some pictures of the 400 millimeter lens. Turned out to be a washer that's used to hold down blankets in the payload bay and with string, and we have sent pictures of that to the Mission Control Center in Houston with our STS-117 camera.
And once the inspection was done, we put the boom back in place and then put the arm away, and that should be it for the rest of the mission as far as the PDRS operations.
after Pat birthed the OBSS boom, we went ahead and put the SRMS away for the night. Houston, that's it for the playback for tonight.
Okay, CJ, hey, thanks a lot. Just want to really pass on our thanks for taking the time each day to put those highlights together. We kept you guys extremely busy. The fact that you guys took the time to go the extra mile and put those things together is really appreciated here on the ground. Especially today, we enjoyed the onboard annex, and seeing the dynamics of the cabin temp controller was a real treat.
Yeah, we're thinking about playing it back right before we go to bed just to watch it again.
All right, send it our way. So special thanks for that. And this is the last Orbit 2 shift for your Orbit 2 flight director, Mr. Lunny, since he's going to be working with your entry team. So I made GC enable the loops here so he could say goodnight to you.
Oh, that'll be great. We'll love to talk to him.
Hey, CJ, this is Brian here. Just want to say goodnight. We're going to begin the flight director shuffle. Kathy will be Orbit 2 tomorrow night, and I'm going to go work on your weather for you. Looking forward to doing that for you.
Oh, we sure appreciate it, Flight, and get us some good weather for Thursday if you can. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be good enough.
We all agree with that, and we're doing our best.
Thank you very much, sir.